Well, hello and good morning, everybody. How are we doing? This is Jeremiah. We have another great webinar showing off our latest FX CAD. If you have never even heard of FX CAD, you're in the right place. If you've had every version of FX CAD since 2013, you're in the right place. So you're in the right place. If you're thinking about it, if you want to know what it is, this is the place to be. We'll be showing it off and explaining what it is, why you should use it, what's new and great, you name it, all the above. You're probably going to have questions. I hope you do, because you're watching this live with us. There is a little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And if you click that right now, you'll get a little pop-up window, and I'd recommend you do that, because in addition to being very easy for you to type in your questions to us, you'll see any answers that we type to other people's questions. So it just makes a fun little companion while you're on this little voyage with us. So that being said, I'm going to have Amanda take us away.
Thanks so much, Jer. And hello, everybody. I'm Amanda Marin, and it's my pleasure to go through FX CAD 2025 with you all today. So FX CAD 2025 was actually released already on June 3rd. So if you remember from last year, FX CAD switched over to subscription in 2024. That means that anybody with FX CAD 2024 right now has a subscription and can already request an upgrade to 2025 immediately. But we'll be going through in these slides of when you might want to do that. So sit back while I first go through a bit of what FX CAD is and how it's different for those new to it. And then for the returning FX CAD users, I've got all the good stuff you need to go through to your CAD manager and suggest an upgrade sometime this year. So, of course, for those new, the returning folks will back me up when I say that the number one reason users stick with FX CAD, even sometimes with a mixed AutoCAD FX CAD fleet, is for the support for regular AutoCAD issues that we offer with it. It makes all the difference to be able to know that when you ask a question, you will get an accurate answer back the same day. So that's why I include the whole team here. It's a whole team effort to make this better each year and back up that support. I swear there's nothing this team can't do. And the fact that we have our phone number right here still speaks volumes to what you can expect from us. So let's dive into the technical portion. Remember that FX CAD 2020 is expiring at the end of 2024. So if that's you, you can call us. It's time, basically. And then let's kind of go into if you're a full AutoCAD user and looking for budget-friendly options, or maybe you're a graduating student looking to start a new business and figure out what to buy, or even somebody looking to move to an AutoCAD drafting environment for the first time, you might be wondering what makes FX CAD different. The key here is that it's an AutoCAD OEM for Windows only. That means that we work with Autodesk, we take AutoCAD LT, we customize it to support land effects as a plugin and give it a facelift to optimize it for landscape and irrigation designers. It does require a land effects license to run, either planting effects or irrigation effects is fine, which is those are separate licenses with their own subscription costs. So basically you can kind of plug and play all the little pieces together to get exactly what you need for the budget that you can afford. Now, it does work on Windows only, but you'll see when I get into the live demo portion of this webinar that I'm on a Mac and I run it through Parallels. So there are things that FX CAD can't do compared to full AutoCAD that you do need to be aware of, we want you to use the software that you need. So of course, we're going to be upfront and tell you when FX CAD isn't for you, as well as when it's exactly what you need. So importantly, it can only run basic lists, and the only plugin that you can install on it is FX CAD. You can geolocate plans, but you can't import a geolocated TIFF, for example. There's no 3D lighting or rendering. That's the command limited part, but our users find that the 3D environment in SketchUp or Rhino is usually better suited for landscape design, so it just works for them. You can view civil 3D objects in FX CAD, and I want to make that very clear that you can do that. For maximum compatibility in this case, I do recommend installing the 2025 Object Enabler when it's available, or if you're in 2024 FX CAD, installing the 2024 Object Enabler, but it's not always necessary. You can see it without it, but sometimes with compatibility export issues, you will need the Object Enabler, depending on how it got exported from Civil. Importantly, though, that's one thing other than land effects that can be installed onto FX CAD. So it is possible, and you can use FX CAD in a mixed civil 3D fleet in your office. So last year, we introduced subscription FX CAD instead of perpetual. This 2027 date that I include at the top is a reminder for all of those still on 2020 through 2023 for planning when the right time to jump into subscription will be for you. Subscription is still only $775 annually, which a lot of you took advantage of. The lower initial jumping cost to new licenses last year and decided the consistent budgeting was a good fit. So some of you might decide that again this year. And now we're moving into who should switch. So FX CAD is a great fit for land effects users who love the tool set and the support, but in particular, it's also great for sole practitioners who want land effects planting, irrigation, lighting, or detail tools, but always had AutoCAD LT before, which can't install plugins like that. FX CAD is also a more budget-friendly, for that situation, but is also budget-friendly for larger firms considering to reduce their budget by pairing drafters with just what they need instead of pairing a year one landscape design hire with no grading experience with a civil 3D license, for instance. They're not going to be able to use any of those tools. It might not be the best software for them and might actually confuse them with all the extra tools that it just takes a long time to learn. I've done personally a mixed fleet with Civil 3D and FX CAD in my firm in the past, and it was a perfect fit for me. So do consider that. You can also rely on us to only put out FX CAD when we're confident we can support it to our high standards. And you want that support. So if you check any of these boxes, FX CAD might be a great fit for you. Now let's run through the installation differences very quickly. So first we start, it's a little bit of a different interface when installing. It just kind of goes through, you get a little bit more of an image slideshow with FX CAD, nice little break to your day, and then they both kind of install. I'll be honest that the AutoCAD is a lot more streamlined in comparison to these slides a decade ago that I did. Maybe we're rubbing off on them. But in the end, FX CAD still does take up a little less room since we do command limit it to only what our users need. So this is a splash screen for when you open it. We try and break up or change up the images from one year to the next. So it's very, very clear on what version of FX CAD that you're running. And you can also see that we have a little bit less installed, and it takes up just a little bit less room on the computer. But a big difference you'll see when you open up FX CAD, if you're used to AutoCAD or AutoCAD LT, is the interface. We heavily customize the ribbons to a layout that we found to be easier for new CAD users to learn. And speaking of easier to learn, keep an eye out later this year for a basic CAD trainer series. You can access our video trainer right now. We have video trainer series for planting, irrigation, and details. And you can access that by typing into the command line of any CAD platform with Land Effects installed as a plugin, the word Land Effects, one word, no slash, into the command line. And we're halfway through recording the basic section of our AutoCAD drafting training section right now. So it'll be based on in FX CAD as a platform, but we're designing it to be a good fit for full AutoCAD or student version users to follow along with it too. And our intermediate and advanced sections are planned for 2025 and 2026. So that's something also to look forward to, and what we keep trying to just add those add that value. But I know a lot of you here right now already use and love FX CAD, which is great. But you're sitting here with an older version on your computer and wondering if it's time to upgrade. So here's a list of reasons why you might want to upgrade to 2025 sooner rather than later. Usually we recommend maybe waiting a little bit of time just to let what do you call it, a hot fix or something come out. Usually there's one coming from Autodesk around July or August or September. And a lot of people end up upgrading to AutoCAD or to FX CAD around September, October, November. But it's usually good to do it sometime in the year that it gets released, as opposed to waiting 3, 4, 5 years before you upgrade. And it's because you're able to adjust to all the kind of all the changes a little bit easier if you do just the few changes each year, instead of if you jump from 2020 to 2025 right now. Those users are going to be seeing a huge difference in changes across the board with the trim command, with I mean, you would finally get to be able to use purge find unpurgeable items, which was huge. I believe that was 2022. But like there'd just be so much. In this case, you get to be able to get the advantage of those for more years, and they're in more bite-sized chunks to be able to learn them. And then you're able to consistently, honestly, with the subscription, this is less of an issue, but if you're considering moving from perpetual to subscription, it's a bit easier to consistently budget year to year. It almost works out to be the same amount of money between holding on to that perpetual license and this subscription cost. So keep that in mind. And then the interface will match our most recent training videos, which is super, super helpful. And you'll have the same version as our tech support staff are using, which helps us answer your questions even faster than we normally do. And also, in general, just creates an environment in your office of keeping up with computer maintenance, which is a very important thing for you to be doing in your office to make yourself competitive. In particular, let's look at what's new with 2025 then. So one big change that you're going to see right off the bat before you even get in there is that we have changed the process to get 2025 when you're upgrading from 2020 through 2024. And we've moved that process over to our portal. A lot of you already have portal logins, but this is going to encourage the rest of you to get the portal login to see what's in there. We have been building this for the last few years and adding more and more maintenance capabilities into that section of us. So I'll be going through this a little bit very shortly. You will need to register with your office support ID if you haven't already. So do find that. It's usually in an email, or you can ask your CAD manager for that to be able to log in and just register. But this is what the sidebar looks like. You will want to go to the install section. And this is what a card might look like that is never upgraded. It will be asking you to select a contact versus a card where a contact has already been set and is ready to upgrade. You do need to set that contact before upgrading so that the system knows who to send all of the installation information to. And then in particular, what are the new features? So we have a very cool blocks feature that allows you to find exploded line work around the drawing and convert all of it to the same block and repeated throughout the drawing. So I'll show you how to do that and a case situation where that would be really helpful. There's Esri base maps. Going to show you that. I love it, love it. And then enhanced hatch command now includes the option for a path shape, which is a cool new feature that we're looking to integrate more into some of our land FX tools, but right now it's just for the hatch tool. Oops, sorry. Graphics performance diagnosis, I'll show that off. And then of course, the usual slight improvement in performance, this time with opening files, which is, you know, always a great start to your day for a file to open a little bit faster. So let's jump into live demo. I'm going to start with that upgrade process. So let's jump into here. I have logged into my portal. This is what it looks like. I'm at landfx.com/portal. I click on installs, and this is what you're going to see. You can sort by different servers, computer name, usernames, serial numbers. So this is great for CAD managers to be able to better organize who has which serial number and make sure that you're in compliance with the requirements of one serial number per user. So in here, you can see I've already upgraded my computer and I've added this contact, but I need to upgrade Jake. So I'm going to go ahead and click upgrade, and it's going to tell me, uh-oh, you don't have a contact for this workstation. So you do need to go into your users, add this contact if they're not in there already, ideally with accurate email and phone number, so that if they ever call in for support, we already know who they are. I'm going to select a contact. I'm going to grab Jake and assign him, and he's assigned to there. Now I can go in and upgrade my FX CAD. So it will take us up to 48 business hours for Autodesk to send the activation serial number. And when they do, that's when we will send the installer and serial number. We've changed to this process just to make it a more seamless, streamlined experience for you guys and also for us, so that we can maintain it a little bit easier. So you're just going to go ahead and request an upgrade, and it will start a ticket in our system. We'll get everything, and you will hear from us as soon as that's ready for you. I'm just going to cancel out of here for now. And let's go down to CAD and look at the actual new features. So this is what it looks like. In FX CAD, we've got our own branding so that you know if it's FX CAD. This year, we did try and streamline just the whole ribbon interface just a little bit. Last year and years before, we had the menu bar up here. This year, we decided to, take that out at first. You can grab it again if you want to by just typing menu bar. and going =1. You can see it there, but I like to keep it off because I honestly like using just the ribbon experience and giving myself a little bit more space. So in here, let's kind of look at some of the new features. We have, let's go with this block convert new feature. Actually, before I jump into the new features, now would be a good time for a quick question break if there's anything that needs to be answered.
Nope, nothing's popped up so far, so keep on going.
Great. Okay, this is a reminder for everybody that we're going to have a lot of time for questions. So if you do have any questions about FX CAD at all, like if you're a new user and you're considering it and have questions that might help you make that decision, you can find that Q&A button, open it up, and ask that question now while you're thinking about it. Or just open it up so while I'm going through here, you can type in a question as you're thinking of it. So let's keep going. In here, we're going to go over to the Insert tab, and I'm going to go to Block Convert. Now, in the AutoCAD section, they don't actually have an icon for this, so I did add this into the ribbon here in FX CAD, so it's easy to access. You will, actually, this should just work. So we're going to go to Block Convert. I have all of these in here, and you might have this experience like if you bring in a survey and you want to maybe help manipulate that or call things out or transform things into land effects plants. But if I go in here, all of this is exploded and it becomes very hard to select things because obviously there's just so much going on. Even with the selection window, I might accidentally, it's very tedious to pick this out and then make it into a block and then copy it around perfectly on all of those spots to just clean up this drawing. All of these are exploded, as you can see. So what I can do here is go to Block Convert. It's going to ask me select objects to convert blocks. I'm going to grab one that is a bit easier and just kind of carefully select that one in particular. And I'm going to right click or enter, and it instantly recognizes all of those instances of that block as opposed to everything else in this drawing. So you can already see it's working. So it's saying I have 67 total in here. And I can right click again. That's going to open up the convert dialog. So I can convert it to an existing block that I already have loaded in my drawing. Or in this case, I might want to make a new block. So I'm going to go to new block. I'm going to go to block name, and I am going to call this one survey tree. You can choose a base point or use geometric center. I'm going to actually choose a base point. So remembering this is my original, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I snap to the center of this area so that it actually goes to the center of the trunk. And I'm going to go ahead and convert them all. So that has now converted this one that I initially selected to a block reference called survey tree. But it also converted this one to a block reference called survey tree. And it converted literally all of these guys to block references. Super, super fast. That alone is immensely powerful for you and a great reason to upgrade to 2025. You can then go ahead and open up your plant manager, and these can easily be mimicked. So if I grab like this Eastern Redbud, that if I edit that, I can see I've selected all of this information on it already. And maybe I want to mimic that. So I can select that from the list. I can go to mimic and I can grab that one. Do I want to apply it to all 67 instances? You know what? Sure, let's do it. Say yes. That's done that. It has set that to the width that I had for that plant in particular, which is a smaller plant than that survey tree. Just weird kind of coincidence, but I can now, these are all smart land effects labels. Sorry, I don't want a single label. I definitely want a group label. Can grab that, and just label that one right here. 67 red buds. So that's how fast that can be now. Um, looks like there's a question, will there be a demo of the new base map feature? Absolutely. So let's kind of jump over to that first before I show the hatch path. So I'm going to go to start, and I'm going to close this plant manager, and we're going to go to new. I'm going to browse my templates. These are the templates that come with FX CAD. You can see that we have set up some land effects templates as well that I'd like to kind of show off now. Great opportunity. I'm just going to select the meters one, and I'm going to open that up. So in our templates that come with FX CAD, we already have a title block ready for you to use, along with a tips section on how to use it and how to customize it to be your own. So I can go over here. I have layout spaces already set up for different sheet sizes. For those imperial templates, they have imperial sheet sizes already ready for you to set up. So that just jump starts you if you're new to the CAD experience of getting your own stuff together. I'm going to go into model space, and let's go over to the insert tab. So on the insert tab over here under location, I can edit location. So this is where we can also set geolocation, like I mentioned before. But instead of going from Bing Maps, which was there before, I'm going to go to Esri Maps. Now, this does require that you set up a free registration for Autodesk, just regular, so you can sign in. But you are doing your subscription through Land Effects. So it's just a free, what do you call it, username in there. That will get you these maps, so I can enter an address or latitude, longitude. So I'm going to go with 3165 Broad Street, San Luis Obispo. That's our office. Let's go ahead and find that one. Yep, that is the location right there at Orchid and Broad. So I'm going to drop my marker here. And I'm going to go to next. And what this is going to do is pull up the GIS coordinate system. Now, what you want to do, we did do a power tip on this a little earlier. You can see a bit more about this, but you can, and what you can do, I believe it was the power tip about importing and scaling aerials and starting off a drawing. So what I want to do is pick the closest coordinate system that uses the units that I'm using. So in this, if you're using Imperial, this would probably be the best one for you to go with. I'm going to go with this one. And that looks great. Meters is my drawing unit in this case. If you're using inches or feet, obviously, or millimeters, you need to make sure that that is set to that. I'm going to go to next. It's asking me to select a point for the location. I suggest just keeping with 0, 0, 0 to keep everything close to the origin of CAD, make everything work better. Choose the north direction. I'm going to stick with 90. It's best practice to have north be up on your CAD drawing. You can always use our UCS tool to swing it around if you want something else to be up, but north should always be up on the world UCS. So you can see this map and how it works. Look how fast that is. I didn't have to go through my X references find a high resolution photo, but I can zoom in here and see a lot of detail with these maps. So just for comparison, you can go up here in the geolocation tab and look at all the different options you have. So if we go to that Bing aerial of this exact location, it's a little less. You can kind of go back between the two of them based on where you're doing this to see what works best for you. But having that option built into here and being able to quickly switch between the two can really give you a lot of options to work with. So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see the other options in here. So I have that aerial imagery. We have OpenStreetMap, quick switch. Let's go to Esri Streets. And we have Esri Light Gray. This would be a great one to use for tracing out a location map that you usually put like at the top right of your title block. Just kind of trace out those so that you get some nice clean line work instead of having to load an image every time into your title block for the location map for your site. And then, of course, there's also dark gray, if you like that dark environment like I do. Easy on the eyes. So you can also, once you're done with all of your tracing, so you would turn on your aerial, you trace, you place, you go through FX planting, place some generic plant symbols maybe for all the existing trees to get the right size, and then rely, of course, on your site visit to be able to identify them and label them. And get exact sizing for the trunk and all that. And then once all of that is done, you can go back over here and just turn off the map to improve your performance. But now you have that geolocation set. You can really coordinate with a lot of 3D programs like SketchUp and everything. So it just gives you a lot of options. Definitely play with this. Let us know what you think. Uh, Great question just popped in. Does Esri work outside of the US? I actually don't know the answer to that one. So we will have to look into that and maybe get back to you on that, but it should. Maybe if I have a little bit of time at the end, we can try with an address outside and just see what happens together. So let's keep going back over to here. I have another example of a new feature for you. It is that hatch path tool. So in this case, I want to go ahead and maybe make a mow strip around this area. The interior will maybe, I don't know, be more of a non-mowed wildflower mix that I might do. But I do want that nice tight edge around the outside for a mow strip. So I'm going to go ahead and use the boundary command. Pick points. This is just a basic AutoCAD command. It's not new. Let's grab that because it's actually closed and drawn well. I'm going to hit enter, and that has created a polyline that perfectly matches all of that on the current layer that I was on, which was 0 at the time. So that is a great trick if you're not aware of it for avoiding having to trace all of this manually. So let's go ahead and use that hatch tool. So right now it is just the native hatch tool. We are in the process of considering how to best integrate it into our land effects hatch tool. It should be pretty easy and quick to do though. So I'm just going to go over to our hatch tool right here. So this is the AutoCAD hatch tool. And I'm going to grab just a quick ANSI hatch. And then in the options down here, I want to go with in the normal hatch one, if I go to, you won't see this many options, and you do need to go to the draw option, which it seems to have bypassed because I was testing it earlier and it just remembered. But if you do it here, I actually have it up over here so you can see what it looks like. There we go. So if I do hatch, hatch, there we go. H, there we go. No, I did it over here too. Never mind. Let's keep going. So you can see what it is doing in here. So I'm in the draw option. So I would hit D for draw. And then I do need to draw around here. So it has different alignment options. So I can go AL to check out the alignments. So if I go center, C for center, and then click in here, you can see it's going centered with what I'm clicking on. At the moment, you can't actually select this whole polyline. It will just try and fill in the whole thing. You do need to actually go around and click, 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 click. I'm sure there's going to be improvements in the future on this. But in this case, I want to do an alignment of outside, no, inside. There we go. So that does it that way. And you can see it's following along inside based on just which direction you're going. So if I go this direction around my space, that's how it's going to be. So you just need to know that. So I'm going to click here and click here. And then to affect this width of this shape, there is that width option right there. So I can go width, and I've set that to 3 feet. In this case, this drawing is feet. So I'm going to keep with 3 feet for now, and we just click, click, click. I'm snapping to the endpoints until I get to an arc, like here, and I'm just going to do that arc option. And we can go in like that. Now, here's where it kind of will break down a little bit. You will need to start looking at the direction of the arc and all that. In this case, I'm just going to stop right here for now for this demo purpose. Right click, and I'm going to right click, and there's my Mow strip hatch area. So it is a hatch without a boundary. So if I want to use this for something with land effects, it's a whole area, so it's not possible at this time to be able to then pick it up and redraw it or move it around very easily. So improvements coming, but this is still a huge step. So I can go ahead and let's see. I want to right click it. I want to generate a boundary right here. And now I have that Mow strip boundary. I can even just delete this hatch. I've got that polyline boundary that I want. I can clean it up if I want to, but I can go ahead and FX planting. I'm going to go back to my planting. I'm going to grab my ground covers, and I'm just going to place this one. There we go. There's my ground cover placed, and just like before, I can now label this in Land FX. So that's one method of being able to use that. Obviously, this would be also very helpful for things like maybe some irrigation, drip areas that you want to draw that kind of follow around an area, however you want to work with that. So what are the other things? So we've done B-convert, we did the hatch path, we did Esri maps, and I think the last thing mostly that I wanted to go over was the performance. So it's not very possible for me to show you it opened faster, so you're going to have to take my word for it. But the other option that you can look at is the graphics performance. So if I go up here and check graphics performance so I can see that icon, I can now right click that icon and go into graphics performance. And you can see I've set this to intermediate mode right now because that displays best with how I've installed this. But you can change it defaults to advanced mode. But you now have this diagnosis tool. So if I click on that, I can already see that it's telling me I might have some resolution display issues. And that's because I'm in Parallels and it doesn't support DirectX 12. It works just fine, but it is giving me that heads up so that if I start to see some funky things happening, I might know, oh, that's right, it's that problem. Okay, I'm going to go over to my settings and move that down to intermediate mode so that it performs better. But if you're on a native Windows machine with DirectX 12 installed for your card driver, you're not going to have a problem with this at all. And you can obviously go into advanced mode. But this might tell you some more information if you happen to have a display issue. So definitely take advantage of this as one of your tools. If you see anything weird going on and you just, is it maybe to do with my graphics card? You can check that out. Okay, so that's all the new features that I wanted to be able to go through, and we have plenty of time to go through any questions and maybe revisit some questions that I need to answer a bit more fully.
Absolutely. Yeah, please chime in with any questions. And, in the meantime, it might be nice to go over a little more of all of those interface changes that we did. I noticed we didn't really go ribbon by ribbon, and looking take pick apart even the quick access toolbar and looking at the keyboard shortcuts. Just all the things that the bane of your existence every March. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
yeah. I
getting
just
each FX CAD release ready.
I spent so much time in it and I just glossed right over it, didn't I?
Exactly. No,
So
you gotta promote your excellent achievement here.
oh, thanks. So yeah, let's go over here to the home ribbon, and mostly the big thing, if you've been in FX CAD for a while, this is already familiar, but if you're new to it, uh, like the big difference is we went with these drop downs and big buttons with static names that kind of tell you in a bit more detail about what's in those drop downs. Now, we went with the big buttons because we find it easier to read, easier to see in this environment, rather than all the tiny little buttons without any words at all. We organized things a little bit differently and brought some things. You'll notice that in a lot of these panels, in the regular AutoCAD or LT interface, there's a lot of drop downs in here. I can actually, as you saw, I have it up. I can pull it up. There's a lot of drop downs in here with a lot of stuff hidden. A lot of the stuff that's hidden is 3D stuff that you probably won't ever use in here, but it's all kind of a mystery and hidden. And that's one of the design features that we keep in mind whenever we're designing anything for land effects also, like any of these tools in here, is we don't want hidden things. We want you to know what you've got, what tools you have in your belt. So we've pulled out a lot of that stuff, like actually one that somebody asked us to pull out was donut. Like this is a very seldom used tool, but actually very, very powerful. So if I can specify the inside diameter of a donut, so I'm going to go with a 10-foot inside diameter and a 15-foot outside diameter. And there you go. There is a donut object with a single polyline. It's solid, where the inside diameter of that polyline with a width, so you can see it added a width to this. The inside diameter is 10 feet and the outside diameter is 15 feet. Um, I actually did not realize that that was a tool in here until a few years ago. So we want to bring out and highlight those tools so that they're there for you to discover. And also when it comes to drop downs like this hatch one, since you're using FX CAD, it is absolutely because you like the land effects tools and you want to use them. So we've made sure that when we've made an alternate to a tool that we feel performs better for you, we will pull that to the top so that when you go to use a tool from the ribbon, um, you'll see our tool, but we also include some of those more advanced tools and group them all in together, like phatch. If you haven't used phatch, let's go with FX hatch. We have all these great hatches ready for you to use. Like if I go to some of the complex site hatches, something like scallops and say, okay, and I'm just gonna draw that. And then go down to P hatch, select that hatch. I have these options to start manipulating it. Like I can go to, is that going to work well for that one? Nah, well, I'm going to use this brush right here. Just say okay. And you can see my keyboard commands here. So add, subtract, and brush size and rotate brush. So I can make this a little bit bigger and just click and add some hatch over here and use that tilde key. You can see the dashes and remove some hatch over here. So just really fun tools, but also very powerful tools. We've also added things like X layer. If you haven't tried X layer before, that's a really great tool to select something, see immediately what layer it's on, even if it's in an XREF. So these lines are in an XREF and I can select that one. It's on L curb inside that XREF, but I can just change the XREF override color just like that. And that's still inside the XREF, but if I go over to my layer properties manager, go to my XREFs and go to that one and turn on my override highlights, we can see that L curb is now overridden with blue. Very, very quick tools that way to just see what layer something is on, but also change it right there. We've added in tools like scale by reference. That was last year we added it. We have that FX text to attribute, FX redefine block. We have FX ref, which is an easier, more streamlined method of attaching an XREF and making sure it's scaled correctly. And then, of course, we have all of our text tools in the annotate ribbon, as well as our text manager, which just helps manage styles a little bit, like less of an intermediate process than in regular CAD. We try and manage that, not just for you, but for the whole office. Uh, the manage ribbon, though, is a big one because that has all of our cleanup tools kind of laid out here, ready for you to click, 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 click all the way along. As well as here's that find non-purgeable items tool that I mentioned before. If you're coming from 2020, you might want to check that one out. It is amazing. We've also added in here under the output, just that export to LandFX support tool to help you out with that. But then of course, as you go through this installation process, we've streamlined it so you instantly get all of those LandFX tools installed as well. So also over here in the manage ribbon, we have these edit aliases that you can come in and add shortcuts to. This is the normal one where you would find a command and then add a shortcut. If you want to find a LandFX command to make a shortcut for, like maybe you use nuke a lot and you want a shortcut for that. I mean, it's a small command, but maybe you want to change, you love it so much, you want to change N to be nuke. You can do that. You can go over to edit aliases and sorry, if I hover over this, that's what I wanted to show you. It does tell you what command it's using right down there. So if I go to any of these tools up here, let's go to, I use triangular array so much. It's FX underscore plant triangular array. So that's the command you would use to create your aliases and customize your shortcuts. Now we have added some by default here in FX CAD. So if I go to manage and I'm just going to open up this PGP file, which is actually where these shortcuts are saved. So we're using the 2025 version. So you get all the latest regular AutoCAD shortcuts all through here. But then at the bottom, we have already customized a bunch of these. So we have, let's go over here, 00 for options. Just a really, instead of OP, this is quick and usually by your right hand on your mouse to be able to type that a bit faster if you want to go to options. But I added actually quite a few new ones this year, like break at point. I love this so much that I added it one year to the quick access toolbar. You can see that quick access toolbar, how many frequently underused tools that should be used more. I added right into there for quick access. I also started adding them this year to the default PGP that comes with FX CAD. So I added break at point in here, added clean export in here. Um, let's see, we have pipe hop, what added poly divide, p hatch. You can use these, you can change these. I added super join, I believe, as well as X layer. So you can kind of go through these and yeah, customize them. But they're there for you and kind of show off the potential of how you can customize your CAD and hold on to that PGP file to be a faster CAD drafter in general. And then I did want to circle around to that Esri question. It was confirmed by another user. I was pretty sure this was the answer. I just didn't want to do it live at that moment. That it does absolutely work in many countries outside the US. So you can go ahead and test and make sure that that does work in your country. I mean, you can try it with a trial. Our trial is 15 days in line with the Autodesk trial. So you can try that out and just make sure it works for you. But I'm sure even without that, you are going to find a lot of value in FX CAD as a platform. Given that it has everything that you need, it's probably going to be a really good fit. Jer, was there anything else that I might have missed
Oh,
or any
I
other
think you just, yeah,
questions?
was a great way to cap it up right there. I think you just sealed the deal. So, fantastic. Just, it's just an incredible amount of work, every year. It's kind of like we pivot the whole company, for a month and a half, and just everything is on.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the new FX CAD release. So, but and of course it's not done because obviously issues come up over the year, and we have to go back in and address things, and it happens. But we really enjoy it. It's really just it's really simplified things. There's so many times people would say, "Oh, I'm having a problem plotting." Is usually the most common one, and we go, "Well, I'm sorry, it's not a land effects tool. I mean, you're gonna have to
Mhm.
talk to your AutoCAD reseller." But FX CAD has allowed us to be able to, find this price that works, and we can offer that support. And people really do say fantastic things about our support. I think rightly so. We really do strive to have absolutely the best support experience you'll ever have. And it's just enabled us to do that, and it just makes it simpler because when people say, "Hey, I'm trying to plot this land effects plan and it's not working," right? It
Mhm.
feels like it's all one issue. And instead of us going, "Well, oh, I'm sorry, once you said the word plot, that's no longer a land effects issue." So anyway, it just feels like a better support experience. I like to be in that position better of being able to help people rather than be able to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong line." It's never a nice thing to have to say to someone. But anyway, so yeah, if you aren't using FX CAD, hopefully this really swayed you, because there's just it's struggling to find why you shouldn't, why would you not want to use FX CAD. So do please consider it, because it just lets us maximize that value add that we can provide for what you do. But that being said, everyone, it's a beautiful, beautiful June day. It's going to be a wonderful weekend. Have fun out there, and we will catch you next time.